Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another Community Connections show with Ryan Sauers. I'm super excited today to have my friend and colleague, Stacy Robinson. She is the owner of the Robinson Agency, among other things. If you don't know Stacy, you're going to get to know her now. So, Stacy, my friend, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Ryan. It's good to be here with you.
Good to be here with you. Like we said, about as close as we can be right now without being actually there, right?
But, right. We don't wear a mask this way.
We don't have to wear a mask this way. And, as much as I wear my mask, matter of fact, Stacy, I got an Under Armour mask. I'll tell her right. It's in the mail last night. It's supposed to be state of the art, whatever. I have a big head, so it actually fits, and I could breathe a little better. So I'm excited to try that out. I'm excited to try that out. But tell us, you've done so many things, and we've worked together in a variety of ways. Tell our audience, and I'll tell you all the people that are going to be listening or watching this about you, your family, your background, whatever you want to start. I know it's a very impressive one.
Sure. Well, I was born in Atlanta. Start at birth. I am a native Atlantan, and we are rare, but so I always like to mention that. I'm proud of my town. And so I grew up and went to school in Atlanta, and I'm in Gwinnett County in Lilburn. And so I'm married. I have a husband of 40 plus years now, and our children are grown. They're 26 and 29. I have a beautiful daughter-in-law, and so life is good for the Robinson family. My husband is recently retired as a PGA golf pro. So anyway, it's a new season of life for us. And my family are all close by, and parents are healthy, and through all this crazy pandemic, we're all doing well, so it's all good. But yes, as far as business, I have the Robinson Agency, which is a speakers bureau that works with organizations all over the country providing speakers. The speakers that I represent, most of the organizations actually provide speakers for are Christian ministries and churches. All of the speakers that I represent are people who profess faith in Christ. So most of what I'm getting requests for them would be for ministry type speaking engagements, conferences, retreats, Sunday sermons, all that kind of thing. And also get a good number of requests from corporate organizations that also want a motivational, inspirational speaker who they trust will be clean, and all those things. So I've started this agency in January 2001, and I've been doing it for a few years now, and just love being a resource, not only for the organizations that are looking for the speakers, but also for the speakers who want to get their name out there as best they can in as many ways as they can. I don't ever require exclusivity for my speakers. So for many of them, the Robinson Agency is just one of the ways that they're getting their name out there with an agency, for almost 20 years that is trusted by planners all over the place.
Well, that's, Stacy, I was listening and thinking about that. You launched, I guess, right around 9/11, ish, and then you've been through the Great Recession, and now you're going through the whatever we're going to call the Great Pandemic. So we have people listening out there going, well, obviously you're a strong person of faith and a very positive person. You and I have talked many, many times, but there's people right now, as you were talking about your Sunday school class, we can come back to that are just not connecting. This is called the Community Connection Show, wherever your community is. And I'm an Atlanta native too, so we're rare.
Yeah.
But,
good.
Yeah. I mean, people go, "You're from here?" Like, sorry. But like a badge, and I'm sorry. But yeah, I mean, talk about the importance with all the different businesses you have humans are meant to be connected, but right now it's a strange time, and I know a lot of people that are very alone and depressed and anxious, and that's natural. But what might you say to them right now?
Well, in my business, I in the middle of March and 1st of April, excuse me, everything that we were doing was, I'll just use the word cancellation, although actually all but one of the bookings that we had, open at that moment turned into a postponement, and all the planners are eager when the right time comes to have the speakers that they originally booked. So on that level, I was talking to an event planner this week that I've provided speakers for years for a large retreat. And, I kind of knew, I was just waiting for them to tell me, but I kind of knew that this retreat that was planned for the fall really probably wasn't going to happen and probably shouldn't happen, particularly because most of the people that attend this particular retreat are senior adults. But for business people, for ministry leaders, it's a very difficult decision to finally get to that point where you say, no, we're not going to do it this year. We just can't. Even though I think for many people, you already know that you really shouldn't and can't do it for so many reasons. But yeah, it's tough for people in business and in ministry to decide, are we going to have church services? How are we going to do that? How do we lessen the number of people? How do we sanitize between services? How do we protect the elderly and the people most at risk who choose of their own volition to come? So many difficult decisions are being made. And we were talking before in my excuse me, in my Sunday school class at my church in Snellville. The Sunday school class is mostly elderly, and so when the church stopped having services, of course we still aren't having Sunday school classes, but one of the things that we tried to do right away was start online Sunday school as soon as we could. For that, we're using GoToMeeting. And we also, some of the ladies in the class, because we tended to have more fellowship time together than, other groups in the class, we started doing weekly online get-togethers, just, no plan, no agenda, just to connect. And what I found was that there were many of the people that wanted to do that, but didn't know how. They had never Zoomed. They had never done any of the online options for connecting before, in business or otherwise. And so it's been a learning curve, I think, for so many people. And thank goodness for all of our grandchildren that are able to get on the phone with, literally, I'm thinking of one particular lady that's very faithful to be there at almost every time we get together online. And I believe her grandson helped her. And it was the first time, these little get-togethers that we're doing, that she was doing something like that online. And I'm also just now recalling, she also spoke to an individual at Verizon, I think it was, that kind of also talked her through it. And literally this person, we're all in this together. We're apart, but we're all in this together. Literally this sweet person at Verizon, helped her through it, talked her through it, but she knew she then had to figure it out herself again later that evening when she joined our group. So she gave her home phone number.
Oh, wow. How about that?
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, we're all in this together, but not physically together.
Yeah, Stacy, and that's important. That's what when this show started, saw a need early on, because those stories aren't told. In the media, those stories aren't told. A Verizon person given their phone number.
Yeah.
That what you hear is, my power's out, no one responded. And I'm talking about on any media outlet almost. And so people are starved, have been starved for years. I've been saying this for the last decade. People are starved for positive, encouraging news. If that was true, this is on steroids now. People are more, and I think we all, God created us to be in his image and be human beings, connected. And it's kind of weird. I go to things, I'm very careful, but even when I'm around people, or I bring them in with a mask, you fist bump them or give them an elbow bump or just disregard. It is just very awkward to be a human and do the kind of things you and I do and go, this is a person generally I'd give a hug to, but I can't do that. So I can't shake their hand. Right. And you know what I mean? It's just, it's not how we're created. And as this goes on for, a period of time, I just wonder what your thoughts are. How is it going to look on the other side of this? Because people are going, is this ever going to end? Of course it's going to end. We're going to get to the other side of it. But I think there'll be some things we probably do differently, or maybe we will never take for granted again. Do you agree?
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Like a ball game. Any of the things are church service. It's just, these are things that I never thought we'd be sitting here talking about that for this period of time.
Right. Well, I mean, nobody knows, when or what that's going to look like when that time comes. But in the season that we're in right now, where, we're trying to do the best we can to keep, especially people that are more at risk, safe. I look at it, I mean, at first, my daughter and I were talking about this recently. At first, I mean, as horrible as this sounds, we're probably not the only ones. We thought, okay, somebody in our family's going to get this, and somebody's probably going to die. We might die from this. I mean, we were no one knew what to expect. We were watching Italy and being terrified. But as time has gone on, at this point, I have gotten out. I've gone to a wedding in North Carolina of my niece, and it was beautiful. It wasn't the wedding she thought she would have. And she was actually going to have another larger service with 200 people later in September, and now they've had to cancel that as well. So, everybody's just going with the flow. But as far as what happens next, just in my business, like in the meetings industry, it's going to be a whole new ball game unless it eventually all goes back to completely what it was before, where we're not have any concern at all about this. The legalities of, the event planner being responsible for people in an outbreak occurring, the logistics of, having 6 speakers at your lectern in a day, and sanitizing the microphones and, the microphones and the microphones and the microphones and, the air purification, so many things. I mean, I don't know what happens next, but I'm encouraged that people are, we do see the sensational headlines. The headlines are always going to be the sensation and the negative, and there are many people that feed off that. I don't tend to do that myself. I don't tend to feed off of it, but we all know those people. Yeah. But I kind of look at this once I got past the, when is somebody in our family going to die? Our family's very, very fortunate that we have had a couple of cases in our family, but it's been very mild. And other families have had so much more to deal with, and they have had death. But, I've looked at this in my case since I have stayed healthy to this point, knocking on wood. It's been a time of reflection. It's been a time of rest. Did any of us know how rest deprived we were until we had the chance to rest? I don't know. I mean, I think God's doing big things right now in our world. I don't know exactly what this all is and what comes next, but for me, one of the things that I've seen is just rest and a season to reflect on life, on family, on, my husband and I were trying to figure out, are we going to move or not move? Move or not move? We've been thinking about that a long time. We've had a lot of time to think about it now. This week we're going to make that final decision, but we think we're not going to move. Of course, we would stay in Atlanta, that, Metro Atlanta.
Yeah, you got to keep that badge.
Yeah, but we've had time on our hands. Everybody has had time on our hands that we've never had before. And I think there's probably a lot of reflecting going on, and, just evaluating life and what we're doing with our lives and how we're connecting with our families. And, one of the first things that my family did was just got my daughter, my son and daughter-in-law, and my daughter in the very earliest days, just to come over and have some takeout food together out in the garage. We were afraid to even have them in the house at that point. But yeah, it's a strange time, but I think that it is a time that we can take advantage of for positive things, focusing on our families, whether it's FaceTime, in-person visits at a distance, whatever. Everybody's figuring it out for themselves. Business and social and church and families.
They are. It's I do, I'm telling you, so when I'm in my studio and I'll do these Zooms, I'll do a few of them back to back. I remember in the summertime, my wife told you she's a moved to digital learning head at her school, but she'd be home and I'd say, I'm exhausted. And she's like, you haven't met with anybody. I'm like, but I feel like I have, because I've done all these, so, this, I agree with you. I think anybody, the majority of people, I think, are reflecting and realizing what matters and what doesn't, because for years in speaking, and I was thinking about when you were talking on the microphone, who all people in my life I've spoken behind never thought about it once, and now these are things that'll be permanently implanted in your heads, of hand sanitizer. And I've always been conscious of shaking hands and whatever, but these other things I didn't pay as much attention to, and I don't. People always say, Stacy, it's 30 days to make a habit, and that's really not true. That was it's many more. But now we've been in this lifestyle for so long that there will be permanent changes to how humans do things, and we'll get back to it. But it's gonna. I tell people, I guess what you said is, if you're not taking a chance to reflect and think, and just thinking of this as some kind of vacation, you're really doing yourself an injustice, because I've tried to do, like you said, the stuff with family and slowing down, because I love that. What'd you say? Rest deprived? Is that what you said? Rest deprived?
Yes.
So true. So true. And when you take a breather for a little bit, you realize just how true it is.
Right. Yeah, and it's not even sleep deprived, because we all talk about that, but to truly rest and just do nothing. How often do we ever have the chance to do that and really able to do it guilt-free? Hopefully a lot of people are resting. There just has to be a season of rest in life, and I believe God has put the whole world at this season of, yes, sickness and death, but but rest and rejuvenation, and just so many things that we can do to take advantage of such a time as this.
I agree. And that's why I wanted to have you on here, because, every person I have, they're leaders from all sectors, business, churches, principals. But the one common theme is none of us as humans have the answer. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, this is a time for, what is it? Be still and know that I am God. I mean, I struggle. Ryan struggles with being still very much. But, I really do. I mean, it's a daily, but I'm going to tell you, when people are like, yeah, we're not meeting with people right now, my speaking shut down, all that, you're going, okay. That's kind of how I said, all right, well, I'm going to bring people together in a different way, because, but for the events, Stacy, to your point, so on my magazine size business, we had all those festivals lined up, the Snellville days and all those big things. And every one of those guys thought, hey, we get to the fall, we'll push it out. And then we're getting out to the end of the year. And to me, it looks like everything's shot till 2021. I mean, it's just maybe one will sneak in November, but it's heartbreaking. Not for us so much. It's just some of this is people's livelihood. So what do you say to the business owners out there, that they're going, restaurants and people that are trying to hang on? What do you say to those people when they're going, I'm doing the best I can, I'm frustrated with government division and, bickering? I mean, what do you say as a word of encouragement?
Well, I don't know what to say. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, there's not any one answer, but I would just say, look at all opportunities, all options. Look at, I'm sure at this point, at this time in the game, because we're recording mid-August, I'm sure everybody's thought about what can they do to pivot to, change their business model or change their career as an employee, to keep income coming in, to keep growing, to keep moving forward, to keep paying their bills. So yeah, I mean, in my business, my clients are speakers. My clients are also the event planners. I consider them both my clients.
Right.
But I work with speakers, and speakers are not being booked right now. I am getting bookings now for 2021, so that's good. I mean, it's picked back up just very recently. More people looking at going ahead and planning for 2021, even though they know they might have to pivot as well. But what I'm encouraging speakers to do is to think about all the things that you've been adding to your list all these years and months and years that you've been busy just doing it, and go ahead and take those notes that you made to write a book, and go ahead and make an outline for that book. Go ahead and start writing that book. Go ahead and start thinking about new speaking topics, because when we do get back out there, especially live and in person, we're not going to act like this never happened.
Right.
This pandemic is part of our history now. It's part of what we've all lived through, the entire world. So I think for speakers, many of them will have some new topics, new entire topics, new points to some of their keynote speeches that they're already doing, just to acknowledge the change, the many different kinds of changes that we've all have been living through and that, are continuing to experience. And as we've talked before too, Ryan, about another business that I do, and we won't talk a lot about this right now, but I have a health and wellness business that I'm not going to go into the details, but it is the most what's the word? The most researched brand name health product in the world.
Right.
So one of the things that I do in that business is help people build their immune systems, support their immune system. And it's not just to boost it. It's not just to, pump it up for today. It's something, there are things that we can all do, whether it's my product or not, to ensure that we're doing the best we can to fuel our bodies. And one of the best things that we can all do, whether it's a different product or just what grows in your garden, is eat fruits and vegetables and berries. Eat plants every day. I'm not a vegetarian. I'm not any form of the different kinds of vegetarianism there is, but I'm doing everything I can on my plate to get as many plants in my body every day as possible and as much variety as possible. And I've even heard some of the mainstream media talk about the fact that the mainstream media doesn't talk as much about what we can do for ourselves to improve our health, to improve our immune systems, as we do just talking about the disease and battling the disease. I think all of us can take from, one of the things we can take from this is there are things that we can all do from our grocery produce aisles to improve our immune health just by eating more plants. Not even becoming a vegan, just eat more plants every single day.
Well, we'll get the contact info. It's so true. And, I try to take this time because I'm down, you and I've talked about this over the year. My last two, literally today, the day we're recording, it's my last two of my lifetime doctoral courses before the dissertation. Has been a long journey, but, I've had that to focus on. I've gone out and really exercised. I've worked on cutting out things like, any kind of a diet soda or things like that, and eating better, like you said. And I've just tried to put my mind, I'm saying this to what you're saying, is to things that we can control, because there's so many things we cannot control. And but on that note, what is the best way, just in general, people can come to your website, email you, connect with you, and talk about anything you've spoken about today?
Yeah, sure. The RobinsonAgency.com is my main website, and that, of course, is the website for my speakers bureau, my talent directory. So event planners and speakers, that's a resource for both planners and speakers. But also, when you go to the RobinsonAgency.com, be sure to use that word, the THE, RobinsonAgency.com. I just today, for you, Ryan, added the links to all my social media. So go to the RobinsonAgency.com, click the About page, and then you'll see the social media icons there. I have one or two Facebook pages, and then I think 3 Instagram accounts. And one of those Instagram accounts, I'll go ahead and mention this too. I'm all about balance in your life. I'm all about filling your body with fruits and vegetables every day, but I'm also all about having cake for every special occasion.
Yeah.
I'm also a cake decorator. I did that for 10 years, 20 years ago. So 30 years ago, I started that business, did it for 10 years, and started the agency. And you know how during COVID, everybody's on social media talking about they're at home cooking, they're at home baking, they're all baking banana bread. So I just started baking my cakes again. So now I'm started at my little cake business again. I've always loved it. And so anyway, yeah, that's there too on therobinsonagency.com.
therobinsonagency.com, and they can get to all the other
Right.
links. And
Yeah.
as we finish, what people want to say, and I'm doing, I launched this show as another value to my customers to do things. And everybody's using the word pivot. Sometimes people don't know what even pivot means, but it's like thinking of new ways. Everybody has to kind of think as a startup business, and whatever you're doing, and continue to think of new ideas. So Stacy, any final words for our audience, and I'm going to close this out.
Well, I just appreciate, Ryan, that you've had me on as a guest today. It's been a pleasure. And I appreciate the way that you are connecting, especially our local community here in the Atlanta area and Gwinnett. And I've seen you do that for, all these years. And I just really appreciate everything that you do to connect us as people, even though now we can't connect in person. So thank you for letting me be on here to share with you and your audience today. And I look forward to watching more of your broadcasts in the future.
Awesome. Well, Stacy, thanks, my friend. Back to you. You've had a big impact on the things I'm doing and trying to give back to people. So I appreciate you coming on as a guest.
Thank you so much, Ryan.
You bet. Folks, you've been listening to another Community Connections with Ryan Sauers. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes.